Hey, what's up, you guys? Today I have a review of the Orient Kamasu on the left here, the red Orient Kamasu. But I brought along the Ray 2 because they do share a lot of similarities. In fact, I think when this first came out, people were speculating that it was going to be called the Ray 3. But it does have its own unique names, and you can see the markers and hands are different. But one feature that they do share that's very similar is they have basically the same case and the same case dimensions. So they did that kind of use that same case size for this watch. But I just wanted to kind of hold them side by side so you could see. They're pretty similar watches, but the Orient Kamasu is a little bit more expensive, but I think it has a lot better features that people usually look for in a dive watch. But I also kind of just liked having the red and blue together like that. They're very, both the sunburst dials on both these watches I think are pretty well executed, and they're really nice in the studio lights. But let's go into the specs of the Orient Kamasu, and then I'll tell you what I like about it and what I don't like about it. So for specifications on this guy, you have a 41.5 millimeter case, not including the crown. You have about 46.5, 47 millimeter lug to lug. It's 13 millimeters thick with a flat sapphire crystal. And then the lug width is 22 millimeters. You do have that bracelet. It's full polish. One thing I will point out while we're here is the bracelet kind of goes like this, and it will ding against the solid end link. And it did put kind of like two little imperfections in the bracelet where that connects. I might try to just polish those out, brush those out with some sandpaper, but be in mind that was a little bit of a design flaw, I think, when they made this watch. It's on both sides. But you do have that 22 millimeter. It's all brushed, which I like. No polish in the center. Tapering down to 20 millimeters and then back up to 22 millimeters at the clasp. The clasp has the Orient logo stamped. You have a safety catch and then double push to point. And just pressed metal here, but I will say it's very sturdy. Like when it's together, it's very solid, so I don't really mind the pressed metal there. And then you do have 4 micro positions, which helps get a pretty good fit. I like when they include more than less. 4, I think, is a great number of micro positions. You have a lot of flexibility there. 6, I actually prefer, but 4 is kind of the minimum. Anything less than that, and you can have trouble getting a perfect fit. But yeah, so I like the micro positions there. And then you do have a screw down case back, kind of the dolphins, the same thing they have on the Ray 2, the 2 dolphins swimming around each other. And this is 200 meters water resistant. You have the water resist there, 20 bar, 200 meters. I don't think it's ISO certified like the Seiko 5KX, but yeah, 200 millimeters. I haven't swum with this one. I have swum with the Ray 2 and it did fine. So I took it in the ocean actually a couple weeks ago. And then one of the notable upgrades you have here is you have a sapphire crystal. So it's going to resist scratches way better. That's something a lot of people ask for. In a watch, people do get frustrated when you have mineral glass, and sapphire glass is a nice addition. The Ray 2 is mineral. This one has been upgraded to sapphire. And then you have the aluminum bezel insert with the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and the dots for each of the minutes. You do have a screw down crown, and it is signed with the Orient logo. And then you have 120 click unidirectional bezel. And the bezel action on this one is great. It's way better on the Ray 2. The Ray 2 is really stiff, and I find it really hard to turn. Like there's no way I could turn it on camera like this. But this one, it's really easy to turn, but it's really solid when you do actually get it into position. So it's really a pleasure to turn. It has a really nice kind of mechanical click sound. It doesn't sound too tinny, and it's really smooth and consistent throughout the whole bezel. Sometimes like when you turn it and you get to certain positions, there's kind of like a change in the pitch and it feels a little bit looser or tighter. This one's really consistent all the way around. And it does line up. I don't think it actually lines up perfect, but you'll note on the Kamasu here, they dropped the chapter ring. On the Ray 2, you still have the chapter ring, and I think that helps. Seiko has a lot of trouble lining up the marker and the 12 o'clock and the chapter ring. But I think when you have the no chapter ring, you kind of have one less thing you have to worry about not aligning. And so I don't think it's perfect, but on your wrist, you'd never notice that it's maybe slightly misaligned. And then as you can see, I got the red dial. This is kind of what drew me to this watch. Orient does a really good job on their sunburst dials, and I like exotic colors. And this red is just really fun. A lot of people, I get a lot of comments on this watch because red dial watches I don't think are very common, and especially a sunburst red dial. Sometimes it looks kind of black when you're in more natural light. I'm obviously in studio lights, so this is going to pop really well, kind of pretty crazy pop in studio lights versus natural light. And sometimes at an angle it looks black, but you have really good legibility with the applied markers. So you do have applied markers, and you have the triangle at the 12 o'clock, which helps for orientation. And then this handset I really like. One of my big pet peeves is if the hands are long enough, and you can see that minute hand is going all the way out to the edge of the minute markers. There's obviously your chapter ring. And then that second hand with the nice arrow tip is going even further. So I really like when it makes it really nice to tell the time. Like, see, we just passed 26 minutes, and that really sharp minute hand is right over the dash. So I like that. You have the Orient at the 12 o'clock. You don't really notice the Orient logo has that red. See if I can get a little closer. Yeah, it has that red mark in the middle, and sometimes it's a little bit weird when it pops out. But with the red dial, I think it goes really well, and it kind of blends into the background. And then you have water resist 20 bar at the 6 o'clock. And then, of course, you have the day date at the 3 o'clock position. And this watch has the caliber F6. I think it's, oh no, it's the F6922. So it's Orient's, it's 21,600 vibrations per hour, but it does hack and hand wind. And then you can quick set the day and the date. So nice movement in here. What else did I want to say about this before I get into what I liked and didn't like about it? I think that's all the features of the watch. I will say I got this, I think, for about $200 on Joma Shop. You can look for like a good deal on there. And I mean, on the Orient website, I think they're closer to $300. But at $200, this really represents kind of almost everything you would want in a watch, a dive watch, at a really good price. So, you know, the new Seiko SKX sports kind of replacement came out. They're calling it the 5KX. So like SKX, but with the 5 because it's the Orient 5. And the major complaints on that watch is they dropped the water resistance to 100 meters, and what was once a screw down crown is not screw down. So here you still have the 200 meters water resistance. You still have a screw down crown, and you're getting a sapphire crystal. I think the only things that are really missing on this is AR coating. I don't think there's any AR coating on this sapphire crystal, which I always like AR coating on a watch, but you usually don't get it at this price point. Maybe drilled lug holes. I know those are kind of like hate it or love it. I love drilled lug holes because it makes switching the straps way easier. But some people don't like the holes in the side of their case. And then this does have hollow end links. I think people like to see solid end links, but the bracelet is solid and it's quite robust, and the clasp is well executed. You don't really have too much of a gap there. You have the micro positions. So you're kind of getting everything people would want. Kind of complained about that wasn't in the new Seiko 5KX line. You're getting it here for really less than the 5KX price. That has come down. I've seen some deals like on Kohl's and maybe Macy's with some, you can stack up some coupon codes. You can get them for sub 200. But I've been trying to get the green and gold one, and that's kind of just been floating around the MSRP price, which is, I can't remember if it's 300, but it's basically like $300, I would say. And that doesn't have sapphire glass. It's 100 meters less water resistant. You don't have the screw down crown. So it's kind of missing some of the features that some of the more, you know, people that are more like strict about what the features they want on the watch kind of demand. For me, the 5KX, they just look really cool. So I don't really dive or anything like that. So I don't super mind the 100 meters water resist. I do like the screw down crown, but so those are just things you have to kind of weigh and balance. But as far as the value of this watch, if you can get it around $200, if you look for a deal, you're really getting pretty much all the features you would want in a watch, especially those ones that people are demanding. What else did I have to say? So yeah, major positive is the price. Kind of the price you're paying it's a really big value. The long hands I like is a really benefit to me. They are flat. That is something that I've started to realize I like about watch hands, is if they're faceted. So like they have a left and a right side. These hands are completely flat. So keep that in mind if that's something that bothers you. Like even on I just reviewed that Casio, they have those nice faceted hands, so they catch the light on like the left and the right side of the facet. This watch isn't going to do that, but I think the main attraction on this watch is kind of the dial on this one. So I'm okay with that. I'm glad they're long. I would have liked them to have been faceted, but the price probably like a little bit of a cost saving measure. The bezel action, like I said before, is excellent. I love the bezel action on this watch. It reminds me a lot, if you've ever done the bezel on a Seiko Samurai, it's very similar to that bezel action. The other complaint is it's ever so slightly misaligned, and but I think on the positive side of that, there's no chapter ring. So the lack of the chapter ring kind of, you don't really notice the slight misalignment as much. And then the other thing I'd like is like because of the lack of the chapter ring and the rehot around the edge, the markers really seem to float and they catch light really nicely across the top. And they kind of just float above the red dial. So yeah, this is a really cool watch. I think it comes in a lot of cool colors. I think there's a green, like an emerald, maybe not emerald, but there's like a darkish green that looks really cool. I haven't seen one in natural light, but I'd like to get my hands on that to check out one time. But it comes in other standard colors like black and blue. But let me get this on the wrist so you can see it on my wrist, and then we'll close up. Oh, I'll give you a Lume shot. So here it is on my 6 3/4 inch wrist, and you can see that 47 millimeter lug to lug fits nicely. It's not overhanging the wrist at all. And that 22 millimeter bracelet tapering down to 20 at the clasp, all brushed. So I like that. It doesn't draw too much attention to itself, and it fits very nicely. You can see that red sunburst dial is really nice to look at, and the indices for the minutes the hours just pop right off the dial like that. So you can see it fits really nice on my wrist. I think this is going to fit kind of that 41.5 millimeter. It's kind of, I like 40, but this is pretty much with this, especially with this lug width, it's a pretty sweet spot. It's going to fit almost anybody's wrist quite nicely. I took out 4 links, 2 on each side. So it's going to accommodate wrists probably like much larger than mine, but you could also, I think there's still a couple links you could take out and you could play those micro positions. So great size. Let me flip the lights and we'll get a Lume shot. So here's the Lume on these two guys. I pulled in the Ray 2 just for fun. Very similar Lume. The markers, on the Kamasu are a little bit more like teeth. They're thinner, so there's a little bit less surface area for the Lume. But it lasts. It's very bright. It lasts very long. It's pretty much totally comparable to the Ray 2, and kind of like Seiko. Orient does really good Lume, just like Seiko. Maybe like a tiny bit behind Seiko, but yeah, you can't complain about this Lume. I'll be walking. I love watches like this with this responsive style Lume where, you know, you walk by a window and then you look down at your watch and you have that slight glow going. So yeah, excellent Lume on this. So closing remarks on the Orient Kamasu. I think if the Seiko 5 Sports SKX replacement, the 5KX release annoyed you, this is your answer. I think you can get it for less or about the same price. You're going to get sapphire glass, the full 200 meters water resistance, and a screw down crown, hacking and hand whiting. It's kind of the complete package, great price, and comes in a number of cool colorways. This red especially appealed to me, but there's that really cool green. And then if you're not into the crazy colors, of course, you can get like black, blue. There's a special edition even that has like a opalescent dial. It's like purpley blue. That's really cool. Limited edition, so you'd want to check that out on the Orient USA site. I haven't seen one of those in real life, but also really cool. And who knows, they might make more colorways of this. So yeah, I think this is a really good answer. Orient is really positioning themselves for like the price point of watches, I think, as Seiko kind of repositions themselves. A little bit more expensive. We'll see. I think the Seiko Sports 5KX, I think the prices will come down over time. But right now, if you can find one of these for a good deal, about $200, it's way better spec-wise than that Seiko. And if that's what you're looking for, this is probably the one to go with. All right, you guys. I just crossed about 300 subscribers. I'd love it if you would subscribe. I hate to ask, but I just want to remind people, if you like this video, like it. If you want more content, please subscribe. It's very encouraging to see the subscriber count rise, and really justifies kind of the time I put into making the videos. All right, thanks so much. Bye.